The book falls open to page 97. A yellowed newspaper clipping slides out, landing on the polished oak counter. The librarian's eyes widen as she reads the headline, "Local teen still missing after 3 months." Below it, a school portrait of 15-year-old Melissa Harmon smiles back at her. The date on the clipping reads December 18th, 1993. The book was just returned today, June 7th, 2007, 14 years later, spring 1993. Ridgewood High School buzzes with end-of-year energy. Sunlight streams through tall windows, catching dust motes that dance above the wooden stage, where drama students rehearse their final play of the year. Melissa Harmon stands center stage, her auburn hair pulled back in a practical ponytail, script clutched in one hand while the other gestures dramatically toward her scene partner. "You can't just leave like this," she projects, voice carrying to the back of the auditorium, where Mrs. Caldwell, the drama teacher, nods approvingly. "We need to face this together." At 15, Melissa is the youngest student to land the lead. In the spring production, talented, focused, and quietly determined, these are the words teachers use to describe her. Not popular in the traditional sense, but respected. The kind of student who moves between social groups with ease, never quite belonging to any one clique. "Excellent, Melissa. Take 5, everyone," Mrs. Caldwell calls out, checking her watch. "We'll pick up with Act 2 after the break." Melissa hops down from the stage, grabbing her backpack from a nearby seat. She pulls out a worn copy of To Kill a Mockingbird, the Ridgewood Public Library stamp visible on its spine. She's already read it twice for English class, but something about Scout's voice keeps drawing her back. Still buried in that book? Blake Simmons slides into the seat beside her, his varsity jacket a bright splash of blue and gold against the auditorium's muted colors. As the male lead in the play, he's been spending a lot of time with Melissa during rehearsals. She marks her page with a finger. "It's good. You should try reading something besides sports magazines sometime." "Ouch." Blake grins, not offended. "Hey, a bunch of us are going to Miller's Point after rehearsal. You should come." Melissa hesitates. Miller's Point is where the cool kids hang out, a clearing in the woods overlooking the town. Not her usual scene. "I don't know. My mom's expecting me home for dinner." "Come on, live a little, we won't stay late." Blake's easy confidence makes everything sound simple. "Sarah and Trent will be there too. I'll think about it," she concedes. Though something in her expression suggests she's already made up her mind, in the back of the auditorium, a door opens quietly. A man slips in, taking a seat in the last row. From this distance, he's just a silhouette, tall, lean, baseball cap pulled low. Nobody notices him. His eyes never leave Melissa. After rehearsal ends at 5:30, Melissa calls home from the payphone in the school hallway. The conversation is brief. "Mom, rehearsal ran late. I'm going to study at Sarah's for a bit." "Yeah, I'll be home by 9. Love you too." It's the first time she's ever lied to her mother. The evening air is warm as the teenagers pile into cars. In the school parking lot, Melissa slides into the back seat of Blake's hand-me-down Chevy, squeezing between Sarah and another girl from the drama club. Music blares from the speakers, windows down, laughter rising into the twilight. None of them notice the blue sedan that pulls out several cars behind them. Miller's Point is beautiful at dusk. The sun sets over Ridgewood, painting the sky in dramatic oranges and pinks. Someone's brought a cooler of beers. Melissa declines, nursing a can of soda instead, perched on a fallen log at the edge of the gathering. She's having fun, even if she feels slightly out of place. "I'm going to grab my jacket from the car," she tells Sarah around 8:15 p.m. "It's getting chilly. Want me to come with?" Sarah offers, but Melissa shakes her head. "I'll be right back." She makes her way down the dirt path toward the makeshift parking area, the sounds of teenage revelry fading behind her. The trees cast long shadows in the fading light. Her footsteps crunch on fallen leaves. She never returns to the party. By 8:45, Sarah goes looking for her. By 9:30, the teenagers are calling her name through the darkening woods. By 10:15, someone calls the police. By midnight, the first search parties are combing the area, flashlight beams cutting through the darkness. By morning, the entire town of Ridgewood knows Melissa Harmon has vanished without a trace. What one knows is that 14 years will pass before the first real clue surfaces, in the form of a library book, returned anonymously, with a newspaper clipping hidden inside. Detective James Mercer stands in Melissa's bedroom 3 days after her disappearance. The space is frozen in time. Bed neatly made, school books stacked on the desk, a worn teddy, a bear propped against the pillows. A bulletin board displays theater programs, honor roll certificates, and photos of Melissa with her small circle of friends. She wasn't the type to run away, Ellen Harmon insists, hugging herself in the doorway. Dark circles rim her eyes, her voice hoarse from crying. As a single mother, she and Melissa were exceptionally close. We tell each other everything. Mercer nods, examining a diary left open on the nightstand. The last entry, dated 3 days. Before Melissa vanished, mentions excitement about the school play. Nothing more. No hidden troubles, no secret boyfriend, no signs of depression. What about her father? Mercer asks, flipping the diary closed. Ellen's face hardens. David left when she was 2, moved to California, remarried. They exchanged birthday cards, that's all. She pauses. I already called him. He's been in Japan on business for the past month. Outside, volunteer search parties comb the woods around Miller's Point for the 3rd consecutive day. The initial theory, that Melissa wandered off and got lost, is fading with each passing hour. The woods have yielded nothing. No clothing, no backpack, no signs of struggle. At Ridgewood High, Principal Garrett holds an emergency assembly. Students sit in stunned silence as he pleads for information, any detail, however small. Someone knows something, he insists, voice echoing through the gymnasium. Please, if you're scared or worried about getting in trouble, don't be. Melissa's safety is all that matters now. In the 3rd row, Blake Simmons stares at his hands, jaw clenched. Beside him, Sarah Thompson wipes tears from her cheeks. After the assembly, Detective Mercer interviews each teenager who was at Miller's Point that night. Their stories align in broad strokes. Melissa was quiet but seemed to be enjoying herself. She went to get her jacket from the car. Nobody walked her there. Nobody saw anything unusual. Were there any strangers hanging around? Mercer asks Blake. In the empty classroom that's become a temporary interview room. Blake shakes his head, then hesitates. Actually, there was someone watching our rehearsal that afternoon. I didn't think about it until now. Someone you didn't recognize. A guy in the back row, baseball cap, kept to himself. Blake shrugs. I figured he was somebody's dad. Sarah's interview yields another detail. Melissa seemed nervous about something last week, she admits. When I asked what was wrong, she said it was nothing, just some weird hang-up calls at home. By the end of the first week, police have established a timeline. Melissa left the gathering at Miller's Point at approximately 8:15 p.m. The cars were parked about 200 yards away, down a wooded path. None of her belongings were missing from Blake's car. Her purse, containing her house keys and $5, was still on the back seat. The investigation intensifies. Police search the homes of everyone at the party. They interview teachers, neighbors, former boyfriends. They check security footage from businesses along possible routes Melissa might have taken if she'd tried to walk home. A 5-mile journey she would never have attempted in the dark. 2 weeks in, they get their first potential lead. A gas station. Attendant 3 miles from Miller's Point remembers seeing a young girl matching Melissa's description around 8:30 that night. She was in the passenger seat of a blue sedan. The attendant didn't see the driver clearly, but thought the girl looked upset. "Are you certain it was her?" Mercer presses. "Pretty sure," the attendant says. "She had that reddish hair. But I can't. Swear to it. We were busy that night. It's not much, but it's something. Police issue a bulletin for a blue sedan, make and model unknown. Tips flood in. There are hundreds of blue sedans in Ridgewood and surrounding counties. Meanwhile, Ellen Harmon appears on local news, then regional programs, finally landing on a national morning show. Her composure cracks on live television. "Please," she begs, staring into the camera. "If you have my daughter, let her come home. If you've seen her, call the police. She's all I have." The plea generates a new wave of tips, most leading nowhere. A truck driver thinks he saw her at a rest stop in Pennsylvania. A waitress in Vermont believes she served her breakfast. Each sighting sends investigators scrambling, only to hit dead ends. 1 month after Melissa's disappearance, police catch a disturbing break. A routine background check on school employees reveals that a janitor hired 6 months earlier, Raymond Tucker, used false credentials. Further digging uncovers a history of stalking charges in another state. Tucker disappeared the same night as Melissa. "We've got our suspect," announces Sheriff Dalton at a press conference. But when authorities track Tucker down in Ohio 2 weeks later, their case quickly unravels. He fled because of outstanding debts, not because he took Melissa. His alibi for the night of her disappearance checks out. Security footage shows him at a casino 50 miles away. 3 months pass. The investigation stalls. Media attention wanes. The official search parties dwindle, though Ellen Harmon and a core group of community members continue every weekend. In Melissa's bedroom, the calendar remains turned to September 1993, the day frozen in time. And at Ridgewood Public Library, a book sits on the shelf, waiting 14 years to tell its story. Christmas 1993 arrives under a blanket of snow that transforms Ridgewood into a picture-perfect New England postcard. Festive lights outline Main Street storefronts. A massive pine tree stands in the town square, ornaments glinting in the December sun. But the holiday spirit feels hollow this year. At the police station, the Harmon wall dominates the briefing. Room, photos, timelines, maps dotted with colorful pins, and hundreds of index cards detailing tips and interviews. Detective Mercer stands before it, coffee growing cold in his hand. 3 months of investigation has produced a file 6 inches thick, yet Melissa seems further away than ever. "You need to go home, James," Sheriff Dalton says, clapping a hand on his shoulder. "It's Christmas Eve. Your kids are waiting." Mercer nods absently. The case has consumed him. His own daughter is just a year older than Melissa, a fact his wife gently reminds him of when he misses dinner for the 3rd time in a week. "Tomorrow," he promises, "fresh eyes after the holiday." Across town, Ellen Harmon sits alone in her living room. Unwrapped presents for Melissa are stacked beneath a tree she put up out of habit rather than hope. The phone rarely rings anymore. Friends don't know what to say, so they say nothing. When the doorbell chimes, she moves mechanically to answer it. On her porch stands a group of Melissa's classmates, including Sarah and Blake. They're carrying candles and small gift bags. "We thought you shouldn't be alone tonight," Sarah explains softly. The gesture breaks something in Ellen. For the first time since Melissa vanished, she allows herself to be comforted. The teenagers fill her quiet house with gentle conversation, sharing stories about Melissa that coax occasional smiles through Ellen's tears. As they leave, Blake hangs back. "Mrs. Harmon, I need to tell you something," he says, voice tight with guilt. "The night Melissa disappeared, it was my idea to go to Miller's Point. If I hadn't invited her—" Ellen takes his hands. "This isn't your fault, Blake," but his expression suggests he's not convinced. Winter gives way to spring. Melissa's case is officially classified as cold, though Detective Mercer continues to pursue leads in his spare time. The missing posters around town grow weathered, edges curling, Melissa's smile fading in the sun. On what would have been Melissa's 16th birthday, Ellen Harmon establishes a scholarship in her daughter's name. At the announcement ceremony, she unveils a bench dedicated to Melissa in the high school courtyard. The entire town turns out, a demonstration of support that both sustains and devastates Ellen. Afterward, she visits Melissa's locker, still untouched since September. Inside, she finds a script for the play Melissa never got to perform, margins filled with her daughter's handwriting. Summer arrives. Ridgewood High's class of 94 graduates without Melissa. Sarah Thompson delivers a valedictorian speech that acknowledges the empty chair they've placed among the graduates. Draped with Melissa's drama club jacket. In July, the first anniversary of Melissa's disappearance approaches. Media interest briefly rekindles. Ellen appears on a cable true crime show where the host suggests controversial theories. Melissa was targeted by a serial predator. She was sold into trafficking. She assumed a new identity and is living under an alias. Do you believe your daughter is still alive? The host asks bluntly. Ellen's answer is unwavering. I have to. The show generates a handful of new tips, including one from a woman in Florida who claims her neighbor resembles an age-progressed image of Melissa. Detective Mercer flies down to investigate, only to find a 19-year-old college student bewildered by the attention. Another dead end. As the EIT case grows colder, Ellen channels her grief into action. She forms a support network for families of missing children, organizes awareness walks, and lobbies for improved Amber Alert systems. Her home office walls are papered with information about Melissa's case, a civilian version of the police department's Harmon wall. She keeps meticulous notes of every potential sighting, every psychic's vision, every dream that might contain a clue. Life in Ridgewood gradually returns to normal, though normal has been permanently redefined. Parents are more cautious. Teenagers no longer hang out at Miller's Point. The high school installs security cameras and implements strict sign-out procedures. 2 years after Melissa's disappearance, Ellen Harmon makes a difficult decision. With Melissa legally declared missing, Ellen holds a memorial service. Not a funeral, she insists to concerned friends, just a way for the community to honor Melissa and release some of their collective grief. During the service, Blake Simmons approaches the podium. Now a college freshman, he's matured beyond his varsity jacket persona. Melissa changed me, he admits to the packed church. She saw something in me that I didn't see in myself. He unfolds a piece of paper with trembling hands. This is from our play. Melissa highlighted her favorite lines. He reads, "Sometimes people disappear from your life, but they never leave your heart. They become part of who you are, invisible threads connecting you to who you might become." Ellen closes her eyes, tears streaming down her face as Blake's voice breaks on the final words. That evening, alone in her home, Ellen opens Melissa's, a diary for the 100th time, searching for anything she might have missed. Something falls from between the pages, a small key Ellen has never seen before. She turns it over in her palm, wondering what secrets it might unlock, unaware that 12 more years will pass before she discovers its purpose. June 7th, 2007. Marion Keene has been the head librarian at Ridgewood Public Library for 35 years. She's experienced plenty of oddities in her career. Books returned decades overdue, strange items used as bookmarks, even occasional love notes tucked between pages. But nothing has prepared her for what slides from To Kill a Mockingbird as she processes the morning's returns. The newspaper clipping about Melissa Harmon is just the beginning. As Marion carefully turns the pages, she discovers more. Pressed, flowers, a concert ticket stub, and most disturbing, a Polaroid photograph of what appears to be a rural cabin, its location unidentifiable. On the back, written in faded blue ink, "She's still watching." Marion's hands tremble as she calls the police. Detective James Mercer, now grey-haired and approaching retirement, arrives within minutes. The Harmon case has haunted his career, the one file he could never close, the face that visits his dreams. He examines the book with gloved hands while Marion explains. "It was in the overnight return box this morning. No record of who checked it out. When was it last borrowed?" Mercer asks. Marion checks the computer. "That's the strange part. According to our system, this copy was removed from circulation in 1994 after it was reported missing." She pauses. "It was one of several books the police asked about during Melissa's investigation." Mercer's eyes narrow. "Who knew you found this?" "No one. I called you immediately." "Keep it that way," he instructs, bagging the book as evidence. "We need to check for fingerprints before this gets out." By afternoon, the news has spread through Ridgewood, despite Mercer's attempt at containment. Ellen Harmon arrives at the station, no longer the broken woman from 14 years ago, but a determined advocate who's channeled her grief into purpose. She runs a foundation for missing children now, her once auburn hair, so like Melissa's, streaked. "With silver, I want to see it," she demands without preamble. Mercer hesitates. "Ellen, it's evidence. 14 years, James, I've earned the right." He relents, escorting her to a private room where the book and its contents are displayed on an evidence table. Ellen's composure falters when she sees the Polaroid. "Do you recognize this place?" Mercer asks gently. She shakes her head, then freezes. "Wait, the flowers." She points to the pressed blooms from the book. "These are lilacs. Melissa was allergic to them, broke out in hives during a school trip to Holman Gardens. She'd never keep these. It's a small detail, but potentially significant." Mercer makes a note. "There's something else," Ellen continues, examining the concert ticket. This show was 3 months after she disappeared. The implications hang in the air. Could Melissa have been alive, attending concerts? Or did someone else keep these mementos, a cruel trophy collection? The book and its contents are rushed to the State Crime Lab. Modern fingerprint technology might find what was missed 14 years ago. DNA testing, still in its infancy during the original investigation, could yield new evidence. Meanwhile, Mercer assembles a fresh task force, including Detective Andrea Cruz, a cold case specialist from the state police. They start by tracking the book's journey. Library records show it was checked out by Melissa 2 weeks before she vanished, Cruz confirms, reviewing the file. Never returned, until now. They interview Marion Keene again, installing security cameras to monitor the library Dropbox. They review footage from nearby businesses, searching for anyone suspicious approaching the library the previous night. A gas station camera across the street captures a partial image. A figure in a hooded jacket depositing something in the return box at 3:17 a.m. The resolution is too poor for identification. "We need to find out who had access to this book for 14 years, Cruz states during the task force briefing. "And why return it now?" The investigation brings them to Blake Simmons, still living in Ridgewood, now teaching drama at the high school. His surprise seems genuine when detectives question him. "You think someone kept that book all this time?" he asks, running a hand through thinning hair. "Why come forward now?" "That's what we're trying to determine," Mercer responds. "Where were you last night, Blake?" His alibi is solid. A school board meeting until 10 p.m., followed by drinks with colleagues witnessed by a dozen people. They track down other classmates with connections to Melissa. Sarah Thompson, now a pediatrician in Boston, expresses shock when contacted. The drama teacher, Mrs. Caldwell, has since passed away. The school janitor, who was briefly a suspect, has been cleared multiple times. 5 days after the book's return, The forensics report arrives. No usable fingerprints except Marion Keene's, and remarkably, a partial set matching samples taken from Melissa's hairbrush during the original investigation. The DNA results are equally perplexing. Microscopic traces on the book's cover match. Melissa, she touched this book, Mercer tells Ellen, voice tight with emotion. Recently? Hope flares in Ellen's eyes, quickly tempered by caution. Or someone planted her DNA. The task force expands the investigation, creating a timeline. Where was the book for 14 years? Why return it now? What significance does the cabin in the Polaroid hold? They explore a new angle. What if Melissa wasn't the target of a random abduction? What if someone specific wanted her? Cruz develops a theory. The book, the pressed flowers she was allergic to, the concert ticket, the photo with that cryptic message. It's like someone's been collecting moments, constructing a narrative. A stalker, Mercer concludes, someone obsessed with her. They revisit everyone in Melissa's life, searching for patterns they might have missed. During this process, they discover something overlooked in the original. Investigation. 3 students from Melissa's year transferred out of Ridgewood High shortly after her disappearance. One name jumps out, Daniel Westfield, a quiet junior known for photography who moved to his uncle's home in Montana 2 months after Melissa vanished. His school records show he worked in the library as a student aide, with access to the circulation desk. When they dig deeper, they find Daniel's name on the sign-in sheet for drama rehearsals the week of Melissa's disappearance. Not as a participant, as a photographer for the school yearbook. I think we need to make a trip to Montana, Cruz tells Mercer. As they prepare to leave, another development breaks the case wide open. The crime lab identifies the pollen on the pressed flowers as a specific subspecies of lilac found primarily in the Pacific Northwest, and overnight, a second book appears in the library return box, Melissa's copy of Romeo and Juliet, containing another Polaroid. This one shows a teenage girl, face just out of frame, standing on a ferry. Written on the back, Puget Sound, 1994, the Pacific Northwest, where thousands of isolated cabins dot the wilderness. Where someone could disappear for 14 years without a trace. The Montana address for Daniel Westfield leads Detective Mercer and Detective Cruz to a modest ranch house outside Billings. Daniel's uncle, Frank Westfield, greets them warily. Danny hasn't lived here in years, he explains, inviting them into a living room decorated with hunting trophies. Stayed with me through high school after his mother died, then headed to Washington for college. Photography scholarship. When's the last time you heard from him? Cruz asks. Frank considers. Christmas card last year. He's not in trouble, is he? We're just following up on an old case, Mercer says carefully. Do you have a current address? Frank retrieves an address book. Last I knew, he was in Seattle. Has his own studio there. Wildlife photography mostly. Always was a quiet kid. Good with a camera. They show Frank the Polaroid of the cabin. He doesn't recognize it. Danny took thousands of pictures. Had a dark room in the basement. He pauses. I still have some of his old stuff in storage if you want to see it. The detectives exchange glances. We'd appreciate that. In the basement, Frank uncovers plastic bins filled with photography equipment, yearbooks, and folders of negatives. One container holds dozens of Polaroids. Landscapes, wildlife, and candid shots of high school students. Mercer rifles through them, pulse quickening when he spots familiar auburn hair. Melissa Harmon appears in at least 20 photos, at rehearsal in the library, walking across campus. None seem overtly inappropriate, yet the volume suggests fixation. In one, she's reading To Kill a Mockingbird, the same copy recently returned to the library. Did Daniel ever mention Melissa Harmon? Cruz asks Frank. The older man frowns. Name doesn't ring a bell. Danny kept to himself, especially after moving. Here, the photography was his way of connecting without really engaging, if that makes sense. They bag the photos as evidence and obtain permission to take Daniel's yearbooks. Inside the 1993 edition, they find the drama club page. Melissa stands center stage, while in the background, barely visible, is Daniel himself, camera in hand. Watching her through the lens, "We need to find him," Mercer states as they leave Montana. Now, the Seattle address proves outdated. Daniel Westfield Photography closed its doors 3 years earlier. The landlord remembers him as a reliable tenant who specialized in nature photography and book cover illustrations. "Never caused trouble," she tells them. "Kinda intense about his work, but artist, you know. Said he was moving to the Olympic Peninsula for inspiration." The Olympic Peninsula. Thousands of square miles of mountains and forests, home to countless remote cabins like the one in the Polaroid. Meanwhile, back in Ridgewood, Ellen Harmon makes a discovery of her own. Organizing a charity auction for her foundation, she finds an unfamiliar envelope among donated items. Inside is a ferry schedule for routes between Seattle and the Olympic Peninsula. A date is circled June 12th, 2007, 5 days from now. No explanation. She immediately calls Mercer. "Someone's trying to communicate through these objects," Cruz theorizes during an emergency conference call. The books, the photos, now this ferry schedule, it's a breadcrumb trail. Or a trap, Mercer counters. "Either way, we follow it," Ellen insists. "I'm flying to Seattle tomorrow." Despite their objections, she's adamant. 14 years, detectives. "I'm not sitting this out." In Seattle, they establish a command center with local law enforcement. The FBI joins the investigation given the interstate nature of the case and possibility of a kidnapping victim still alive after 14 years. Agent Calloway, the FBI lead, is skeptical. "The statistics on recovery after this much time, statistics don't apply to my daughter," Ellen interrupts. They develop a plan to monitor all ferry routes on the scheduled date. Ellen will travel as a passenger while law enforcement observes from a distance. If Daniel is watching, they don't want to spook him. Cruz combs through Daniel's photography website archives. His work shows remarkable talent, haunting landscapes of the Pacific Northwest, particularly the Olympic Peninsula. One series titled Watchtower features a cabin similar to the Polaroid. "Look at the description," Cruz points out, "where solitude and safety converge. It's remote enough to hold someone. But why lead us there now?" Mercer questions. Why? After 14 years? The answer may lie in another discovery. Daniel's mother didn't simply die. She committed suicide when he was 16, just months before Melissa's disappearance. Further digging reveals she'd been a librarian with a history of mental health issues. "The library connection," Cruz murmurs. Books were his mother's world, now they're his communication method. June 12th arrives with a heavy mist shrouding. Puget Sound. Ellen boards the ferry to Bainbridge Island, wearing a concealed microphone. Plainclothes officers are scattered throughout the vessel. Mercer and Cruz monitor from the terminal, while FBI teams prepare to deploy to any location necessary. As the ferry pulls away from the dock, Ellen stands at the railing, scanning fellow passengers. Most are commuters or tourists, none paying particular attention to her. The crossing takes 35 minutes. Ellen sees nothing suspicious. Then, as passengers disembark, a ferry worker approaches her. "Excuse me, Mum, someone left this for you at the information desk." He hands her a Polaroid photograph. With trembling fingers, Ellen turns it over. Written. On the back is an address in the Olympic National Forest and 5 words that stop her heart. "She's been waiting for you." The cabin sits 3 miles up a winding forest road, then another half-mile along an overgrown trail, as remote as a place can be while still technically accessible. Tall pines surround it, filtering sunlight into dappled patterns across weathered logs. A thin column of smoke rises from the stone chimney. Someone is home. From their concealed position, Detective Mercer surveys the structure through binoculars. FBI tactical teams have established a perimeter, moving silently through the undergrowth, invisible except to the trained eye. Agent Calloway's voice crackles through Mercer's earpiece, visual confirmation on a male subject, presumed to be Daniel Westfield, no sign of a second occupant. Mercer adjusts the binoculars, focusing on a lean figure moving past a window. Daniel appears older than his 38 years, beard streaked with premature grey, movements precise and deliberate as he sets something on a table inside. "I should go in alone," Ellen Harmon whispers beside Mercer. They've established her in a command post a safe distance away, but she's made her way to his position, determination etched into every line of her face. "Absolutely not," Mercer responds. "We have no idea what we're dealing with. If Melissa is in there, seeing a tactical team might terrify her." Ellen's voice is steady. "She knows me. And if this is some kind of sick game, I want to face him myself." "It's too dangerous," Mercer insists. "Then wire me. Have your snipers ready." "But James—" She grips his arm. "I've waited 14 years. I need to do this." Against his better judgment, against FBI protocol, against everything his training tells him, Mercer recognizes the truth in her words. Some situations transcend procedure. Wear a vest. Keep your transmitter open. At the first sign of trouble, we come in. 20 minutes later, Ellen Harmon walks alone up the path to the cabin door. She's dressed simply. Jeans, hiking boots, a light jacket concealing her bulletproof vest. Her silver-streaked hair is pulled back in a ponytail, reminiscent of how Melissa wore hers all those years ago. Her heart hammers against her ribs, but her steps never falter. She knocks 3 times. The door opens to reveal Daniel Westfield, thinner than in his high school photos, but with the same watchful eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. Recognition flickers. Across his features, "Mrs. Harmon," he says softly. "You came." "Where is she?" Ellen asks, voice miraculously steady. Daniel steps back, gesturing for Ellen to enter. Through her concealed microphone, tactical teams hear his response. "She's here. She's always been here." The cabin interior is unexpectedly ordinary, clean, organized, modestly furnished. A living area with bookcases and a stone fireplace. A small kitchen with herbs hanging from ceiling beams. What's extraordinary are the photographs, hundreds of them covering the walls in meticulous arrangements. All of the same subject, all of Melissa. Ellen's breath catches. The images span years. Melissa, at 15 in her drama club jacket. Melissa, at what would have been 17, sitting on a ferry. Melissa in her 20s, beside a mountain lake. Melissa, apparently in her late 20s, walking through Seattle. "What is this?" Ellen whispers, horror and confusion battling within. Her Daniel moves to a desk, picking up a leather-bound album. "I've documented everything, every sighting, every encounter, so you would know she was safe." In the command post, Mercer and Cruz exchange alarmed glances. "Is he delusional?" Cruz whispers. "These can't be real." "Let Tactical know we may be dealing with a psychotic break," Mercer murmurs into his radio. Inside. "The cabin," Ellen struggles to comprehend. "You've been following my daughter for 14 years. Daniel shakes his head, offering the album. "Not following, protecting, watching over her, the way my mother watched over me." Ellen opens the album with trembling hands. The first page contains newspaper clippings about Melissa's disappearance. The second shows surveillance photos of Miller's Point from the night she vanished. Subsequent pages document what appears to be a methodical stalking campaign spanning years. "I didn't take her," Daniel says, misreading Ellen's horror as accusation. "I saved her." Through the microphone, the tactical team hears Ellen's carefully controlled response. "Saved her from what, Daniel?" "From him." Daniel moves to another bookshelf, retrieving a worn shoebox. The man in the blue sedan, the one who was watching her at rehearsals, the one who was going to take her that night. Ellen's training from years of advocacy work kicks in. Keep him talking, gather information, stay calm. "Tell me what happened at Miller's Point." Daniel's expression darkens with remembered fear. I followed her there, not to hurt her, just to photograph her, to preserve her. But I saw him waiting in the trees where the cars were parked. I recognized him from rehearsal. He opens the shoebox, removing yellowed newspaper clippings. I knew what he was. What? He'd done before. The clippings detail a series of unsolved disappearances of teenage girls across 3 states in the early 1990s. Each victim shared physical similarities with Melissa: auburn hair, slight build, artistic interests. When Melissa went to her car alone, he approached her. I saw him force her into his sedan. Daniel's voice becomes clinical, detached. I followed them. When he stopped for gas, I managed to take a photo of his license plate. Then I tracked them to a motel outside town. Ellen's voice shakes despite her efforts at control. What did you do, Daniel? I created a distraction, set fire to a dumpster behind the motel. When he ran out to check, I broke into the room. Melissa was tied up, terrified. His expression softens at the memory. I helped her escape, told her she couldn't go home. He knew where she lived. He'd kill her family to get to her. In the command post, Mercer frantically runs the details through police databases. 3 unsolved disappearances matching this profile in 1991-92, he confirms. We never connected them to Melissa's case. Is he making this up? Cruz questions. I don't know, Mercer admits. But if there's any chance... Inside the cabin, Ellen fights to keep her composure. If what you're saying is true, where is Melissa? Now? Daniel's answer sends chills through everyone listening. She was here yesterday, but she saw the news about the book being returned. She knew you were coming. He gestures to a door at the back of the cabin. She left something for you. She wasn't ready to be found yet, not until he's caught, not until she's sure it's safe. Ellen moves toward the door, heart in her throat. Behind it is a small bedroom, sparsely furnished. On the neatly made bed lies a single item, a well-worn teddy bear Ellen recognizes instantly. Mr. Beans, Melissa's childhood companion, left behind the night she disappeared. Pinned to its chest is a handwritten note. With shaking hands, Ellen unfolds the paper and reads aloud, knowing the tactical team is listening. Mom, I'm sorry for the years of pain. Daniel thought he was protecting me. I stayed hidden because I believed him. Now I know it's time to end this, but there are things you don't understand yet, things I need to finish. I'll contact you when it's safe. Please know I love you. M. Ellen sinks onto the bed, clutching the bear to her chest. The handwriting matches Melissa's teenage script perfectly, the distinctive loop of her Y's. The slight leftward slant. After 14 years of uncertainty, Ellen holds tangible proof. Her daughter was alive. But where is she now? And what danger still pursues her after all this time? Daniel Westfield sits across from Detective Mercer, in a sterile interview room at the Olympic Peninsula field office. He hasn't been formally charged. They're still determining whether he's a kidnapper, an accomplice, a delusional stalker, or possibly even the hero of his own disturbing narrative. Start from the beginning, Mercer instructs. Recording device, capturing every word. The night Melissa disappeared, Daniel recounts his story with unsettling precision. He'd developed an obsession with Melissa during their shared time in the high school library. Not romantic, he insists. She represented something pure, something worthy of preservation through his camera lens. He documented her from afar, careful, never to disturb her actual life. The night at Miller's Point, he continues, I was taking photos from the woods. That's when I saw him approach her by the cars. Did you know this man? Cruz interjects. Daniel hesitates. Not personally, but I'd seen him watching drama rehearsals. I noticed him because he was careful. Too careful. I recognize careful observation. It's what I do. He describes following the blue sedan to a roadside motel, the rescue, Melissa's terror. She begged me not to call the police, Daniel explains. She said he'd told her he had connections in law enforcement, that no one would believe her, that he'd hurt her mother if she tried to escape. I convinced her to hide with me at my uncle's cabin in Montana until things cooled down. In a separate room, forensic psychologists analyze the interview in real time. Their preliminary assessment, Daniel believes his narrative completely. Whether it's true remains uncertain. Meanwhile, Ellen Harmon clutches her daughter's teddy bear, refusing to relinquish it even for forensic testing. A compromise is reached. Samples are taken while Ellen maintains possession. The DNA will tell us if Melissa really touched this recently, Agent Calloway explains gently. We should have results within hours, Ellen nods numbly. What about the man Daniel described, the predator? We're running the details through our databases, Calloway assures her. If there's a pattern of similar abductions, we'll find it. Back in the interview room, Mercer presses Daniel on the years following Melissa's disappearance. You expect us to believe she willingly stayed hidden for 14 years? Daniel's expression hardens. Not willingly, out of fear. We move frequently Montana, Oregon, finally settling in Washington. Melissa was convinced her abductor would find her if she contacted home. And you encouraged this belief, Cruz states flatly. I protected her, Daniel insists. I gave her books, cameras, art supplies. She created a new identity, Marina West. She sells photography and illustrations online, lives mostly off-grid, checks public records occasionally for information about her stalker. Where is she now, Daniel? Mercer asks. Daniel shakes his head. She left yesterday. She doesn't tell me her contingency locations. Safer that way. She'll contact me when she's ready. In a third room, technicians process evidence from the cabin. The photographs spanning 14 years appear authentic, not digitally manipulated. Several books with Ridgewood Public Library stamps are catalogued, including the copy of Romeo and Juliet that appeared in the return box. Ellen studies photos of what might be her adult daughter. The resemblance is striking. The same auburn hair, now styled differently. The same delicate features matured into womanhood. In the most recent images, Melissa appears to be in her late 20s, wearing hiking clothes beside a mountain trail. That was 6 months ago, Daniel explains when shown the photo. Olympic National Park. She hikes there often. FBI analysts trace the online identity Marina West, finding a modest photography business operating through artisan marketplaces. The work shows talent, wilderness landscapes reminiscent of Daniel's style, but with a distinctive feminine perspective. The business address is a post office box in Port Angeles, Washington. As evening approaches, two crucial developments occur simultaneously. First, the DNA results from the teddy bear confirm a partial match to Melissa's profile from the original case, with one unexpected detail. There are actually two DNA profiles present, the technician explains. One matches Melissa Harmon, the other is unknown, but shares genetic markers with Melissa. Second, the database search identifies a potential suspect matching Daniel's description of the man in the blue sedan. Robert Kendrick, former school administrator from a district neighboring Ridgewood, was investigated but never charged in connection with two missing teenagers in 1991. He resigned his position shortly after Melissa's disappearance and disappeared himself. His last known address was less than 20 miles from where Melissa was allegedly taken. We need to find this Kendrick, Mercer states during the tactical briefing. And we need to find Melissa, Ellen adds, a new tension in her voice. The second DNA profile. Could it be what I think it is? Agent Calloway nods gravely. It's possible Melissa has a child. The revelation strikes Ellen like a physical blow. Not only might her daughter be alive, but she could be a grandmother. The stakes of their search suddenly double. Daniel provides additional details when confronted with the DNA evidence. Yes, she has a daughter, 13 years old now, named Lily. His expression softens. She's the reason Melissa stayed hidden so long. She was born in fear, raised in secrecy. Melissa homeschools her. The girl believes they're in hiding from her abusive father. Is Kendrick the father? Cruz asks sharply. Daniel's face contorts with disgust. Yes. Melissa discovered she was pregnant several months after we escaped. She considered ending it, but ultimately couldn't. She's fiercely protective of Lily, despite the circumstances of her conception. The timeline aligns. A child conceived shortly before or after Melissa's abduction would now be entering her teens. The final piece of Daniel's story gains credibility. Here's what I don't understand, Mercer challenges. If this has been about protecting Melissa from Kendrick all these years, why start leaving clues now? Why the books in the library return box? Why lead us here? Daniel's answer is unexpected. It wasn't my idea. It was Melissa's. 6 months ago, she found something online. A similar abduction in Idaho with the same methodology. She became convinced. Kendrick was active again, taking new victims. She wanted to use herself as bait to catch him finally. That's insane, Ellen whispers. I tried to talk her out of it, Daniel continues, but she was determined to end the cycle. The return of the books was phase 1. Generate media attention, make her presence known without exposing herself directly. She knew he would be watching. Agent Calloway interrupts with breaking news. Port Angeles police just responded to a report of a suspicious man watching a mother and daughter at the public library. Witness description matches Kendrick's last. Known appearance, aged appropriately. Ellen stands so abruptly, her chair topples backward. Melissa's there. She's using herself as bait, just like Daniel said. Or Daniel orchestrated this entire scenario, Cruz cautions. We still don't know for certain his story is true. I know, Ellen says with quiet conviction, holding up her daughter's teddy bear. A mother knows. Teams mobilize toward Port Angeles, a coastal town an hour from their current location. Ellen insists on accompanying them despite protests. Daniel is detained for further questioning. As they prepare to depart, Mercer pulls Ellen aside. If Melissa is alive, if she's been free to contact you all these years and chose not to, Ellen completes his unspoken concern. Then our reunion may not be what I've imagined. She squares her shoulders. I don't care why she stayed away. I just need to see her alive. The rest we can work through. In Port Angeles, as darkness falls, a woman with auburn hair sits on a bench outside the public library, pretending to read. Beside her, a teenage girl sketches in a notebook, occasionally, glancing nervously around. Neither notices the blue sedan parked across the street, its driver watching, with calculated patience, waiting for the moment when mother and daughter separate, even briefly. After 14 years, predator and prey are finally in the same place. But which of them is truly the hunter now? Dusk settles over Port Angeles, streetlights flickering on as shadows lengthen across the library plaza. The woman on the bench, Melissa or Marina or whoever she's become, checks her watch, then whispers something to the girl beside her. The teenager nods, clutching her sketchbook closer as she stands and walks toward the library entrance. Her mother remains seated, apparently engrossed in her book, but watching the girl's progress from the corner of her eye. Across the street, the blue sedan's door opens slightly. 2 blocks away, the FBI tactical team establishes positions, moving with practiced efficiency. Agent Calloway coordinates with local police to quietly clear civilians from the area without creating panic. Detective Mercer and Detective Cruz position themselves in an unmarked vehicle with a clear sightline to the library plaza. Ellen Harmon sits rigid beside them, eyes locked on the distant figure of the woman on the bench. Even from this distance, the resemblance is unmistakable. Is it her? Cruz asks softly. Ellen can barely speak. I think so. Yes. The girl must be Lily, Mercer observes as the teenager disappears into the library. They've separated. If Kendrick is watching, his words prove prophetic. The man from the blue sedan emerges fully now, crossing the street with casual confidence. Late 50s, silver-haired, wearing a tweed jacket that gives him an academic air. Nothing about his appearance suggests danger, which makes him all the more dangerous. That's him, Ellen whispers, recognizing the face from database photos. Robert Kendrick. Through their earpieces, they hear Agent Calloway's voice. All units stand by. Let's see where this goes. Bravo team, maintain visual on the juvenile inside the library. Kendrick approaches the bench, stopping a respectful distance from the woman. From their vantage point, the observers can't hear the exchange, but they see the woman stiffen, then deliberately close her book. She stands, facing Kendrick directly. She knew he would come, Mercer realizes. Daniel was telling the truth. Inside the library, Lily browses the young adult section, unaware of the drama. Unfolding outside, an undercover agent pretending to shelve books keeps her in peripheral vision while maintaining communication with the tactical team. Outside, Kendrick gestures toward his car. The woman, Melissa, shakes her head. He steps closer. Her posture remains defiant. We need to move in, Ellen urges, panic rising in her voice. He could take her again. Wait, Cruz cautions. Look. Melissa reaches into her pocket, withdrawing something small, a recorder or perhaps a phone. Kendrick freezes, then lunges forward. Melissa sidesteps, backing toward the library entrance. Her face, caught in the glow of a streetlight, shows no fear, only cold determination. Now, Calloway commands through the radio. All units move in. Suspect is engaged with the female subject. The plaza erupts with coordinated activity. FBI agents converge from multiple directions. Kendrick, suddenly aware he's surrounded, grabs Melissa's arm. She twists away, using his momentum to send him staggering backward. FBI, hands up! The command echoes across the plaza. Kendrick bolts toward a side street. Two agents pursue him while others secure Melissa, who shouts over the chaos, "My daughter!" He has an accomplice. My daughter. Inside the library, the undercover agent watching Lily notices a man in a baseball cap approaching the teenager. The man leans down, whispers something. Lily's eyes widen with fear. Possible second suspect with the juvenile, the agent reports, moving toward them. Middle-aged male, navy cap, tan jacket. Before he can intercept, the man grabs Lily's arm, pulling her toward the emergency exit. The agent draws his weapon. FBI, stop! Patrons scream, dropping to the floor. The man drags Lily through the exit, triggering alarms. Outside, Ellen breaks away from Mercer's restraining grip, running toward the woman agents are escorting to safety. "Melissa!" she cries, voice breaking with emotion. "Melissa!" The woman turns, auburn hair catching the streetlight. For an instant, mother and daughter lock eyes across 14 years of separation. Mom. Melissa's composure cracks, the single word containing a universe of emotion. Their reunion is cut short by Lily's scream from the library's side exit. The man in the baseball cap hauls her toward a waiting van. "Lily!" Melissa breaks free from the agents, running toward her daughter with Ellen close behind. What happens next unfolds in chaotic fragments. The man shoves Lily into the van's side door. Melissa reaches them, grabbing for her daughter's outstretched hand. Ellen pulls at the man's jacket. He turns, revealing a face Ellen recognizes with horrified clarity. Blake Simmons, Melissa's high school friend, now middle-aged and unrecognizable to those who hadn't known him as a teenager. "Blake!" Ellen gasps. The momentary confusion is enough. Melissa yanks Lily from the van. Blake lunges at them. FBI agents arrive, weapons drawn. Blake raises something in his hand, a taser, not a gun, but in the dim light and chaos, the distinction isn't clear. A single shot cracks through the night. Blake crumples to the ground. Melissa shields Lily with her body. Ellen stands frozen, unable to process the colliding realities around her. In the aftermath, Kendrick is captured 2 blocks away, attempting to steal a motorcycle. Blake Simmons is rushed to the hospital with a shoulder wound, expected to survive. Lily, traumatized but physically unharmed, clings to her mother while medics check them both. At the field office, family reunites in a private room. Ellen approaches cautiously, as if Melissa might disappear if she moves too quickly. Melissa stands just as tentatively, Lily half hidden behind her. "You're really here," Ellen whispers, reaching out to touch her daughter's face. "You're alive." Melissa's composure finally breaks. She falls into her mother's embrace, 14 years of emotion pouring out in wrenching sobs. "I'm sorry," she manages between breaths. "I'm so sorry." Lily watches uncertainly until Ellen opens an arm to include her. "And you must be my granddaughter," she says, voice trembling with wonder. As they hold each other, Mercer and Cruz observe silently from the doorway. The family tableau answers one set of questions, but raises others. Why was Blake Simmons working with Kendrick? Cruz wonders. What's the connection? And how much did Melissa really know? Mercer adds. Was she victim or accomplice to Daniel's obsession? Was she genuinely hiding or choosing to stay away? One truth is certain. The story that seemed to end in tragedy 14 years ago has resurfaced with complications none of them anticipated. The tearful reunion in that small room is just the beginning of revelations that will reshape multiple lives. Outside the field office, reporters gather as news of the sensational development spreads. The headline forming on their laptops and broadcasts: "Missing teen found alive after 14 years, alleged abductor and accomplice in custody." But the true story, as Ellen is beginning to realize while holding her daughter and newly discovered granddaughter, is far more complex than any headline could capture. Morning light filters through the blinds of the Port Angeles hotel suite secured by the FBI for Ellen, Melissa, and Lily. The 3 generations of Harmon women sit in awkward silence, each struggling to navigate this strange new reality. Ellen watches her daughter, now a woman of 29, pour coffee with steady hands. Lily curls in an armchair, observing her grandmother with wary fascination. "You look like her," Ellen tells Lily gently. "She had that same serious expression when she was your age." Lily offers a hesitant smile, the first crack in her careful reserve. "Mom has pictures from when she was young. I always thought I looked like her." The simple exchange opens a door. Soon Lily is asking questions about her mother's childhood, things Melissa herself had begun to forget during the long years of exile. Ellen produces a wallet photo of Melissa at 14, standing proudly beside a science fair project. Lily studies it, then looks at her mother with new understanding. "You really did have a life before everything." Melissa's eyes glisten. "Yes, a good one." A knock interrupts the tentative bonding. Detectives Mercer and Cruz have arrived with Agent Calloway. It's time for formal statements. In the adjoining suite converted to an interview room, Melissa sits straight-backed, composed despite the emotional marathon of the past 24 hours. Recording devices capture every word as she finally tells her story. "Daniel didn't kidnap me," she begins, meeting their skeptical gazes directly. "That part is true. Robert Kendrick did take me from Miller's Point. Daniel followed and helped me escape from the motel." She recounts the initial days of terror, believing Kendrick would find her, believing his threats that he had connections in law enforcement who would help him. "Daniel offered protection, a place to hide until things cooled down. I was 15, traumatized. I trusted him." She pauses. "What I didn't understand then was that Daniel had his own obsession with me. Not sexual, almost artistic. He saw himself as my guardian. By the time I realized how damaged he was, I was pregnant with Lily." "Why didn't you try to contact your mother once you were away from Ridgewood?" Cruz asks the question Ellen hasn't yet found courage to voice. Melissa's. Expression clouds. At first fear, then after Lily was born, shame. Then habit, I suppose. The longer I stayed away, the harder it became to imagine going back. She looks down. And Daniel fostered my isolation. He'd show me news reports about other girls who'd gone missing, claiming they were Kendrick's victims, proof he was still searching for me. And Blake Simmons, Mercer prompts. What was his connection? Melissa's hands tighten around her coffee cup. I didn't know until yesterday, when Kendrick approached me at the library. He mentioned Blake had been his eyes in Ridgewood all these years. Blake was the one who first noticed me at drama rehearsals, who invited me to Miller's Point that night. The revelation sends a chill through the room. Blake Simmons, the popular boy who'd invited Melissa to the gathering, who'd later comforted Ellen and read from Melissa's script at her memorial service, had been the facilitator of her abduction. Blake was grooming me for Kendrick, Melissa continues. When I disappeared, he played the concerned friend. He stayed in Ridgewood all these years, watching my mother, reporting back to Kendrick. In a separate interview room, Blake Simmons confesses under pressure. His shoulder bandaged from the gunshot wound, he describes how Kendrick, then an educational consultant who occasionally visited Ridgewood High, had befriended him when he was a troubled 14-year-old with absent parents. He was like a father, a figure, Blake explains, unable to meet the investigator's eyes. He'd give me attention, money, validation. Later, he asked for favors. Small things at first, information about girls at school, their routines, their vulnerabilities. You knew what he was doing to them, Cruz states coldly. Blake's shoulders slump. Not at first. By the time I understood, he had too much on. Me photos, recordings of our conversations. He owned me. The picture grows clearer as investigators compile statements. Robert Kendrick had developed a system of targeting artistic, quiet teenage girls using Blake and possibly other manipulated teenagers as his scouts. Daniel Westfield, with his own obsessive tendencies, had inadvertently disrupted the pattern by helping Melissa escape. When Melissa disappeared, Blake became Kendrick's informant in Ridgewood, watching Ellen for any sign Melissa had made contact. The search for Melissa became Kendrick's fixation, the one who got away. Meanwhile, Daniel's obsession with protecting Melissa evolved into a strange family-like arrangement. He provided shelter, new identities and resources while documenting her life through his photography. Melissa, traumatized and later burdened with a child, adapted to the abnormal situation. I wasn't exactly a prisoner, she explains to her mother privately after the formal interviews, but I wasn't free either. Daniel created an alternate reality, and I lived in it because facing the truth was too painful. Why come forward now? Ellen asks, the question that's haunted her since Melissa reappeared. Melissa takes a deep breath. Lily, she's 13 now, the age when girls become visible to predators like Kendrick. I couldn't keep her hidden forever, and I discovered Kendrick was still active. Another girl went missing in Idaho with the same methodology. I realized the cycle would continue unless someone stopped him. So you used yourself as bait, Ellen concludes, understanding and horror mingling in her voice. I left Daniel's cabin, established a routine at the Port Angeles Library, where Lily and I would be visible. I started leaving breadcrumbs leading back to Ridgewood, the books in the return box, the ferry schedule. Melissa's eyes harden. I knew Kendrick was still obsessed with finding me. I knew he'd come when he thought I was re-emerging. You risked your life. And Lily's. I risked continuing to live in fear, Melissa corrects. Daniel thought he was protecting us, but he was just another kind of captor. Lily deserves a real life, school, friends, a grandmother. Her voice breaks. If you'll have us. Ellen reaches across the table, gripping her daughter's hand. Always, no matter what. As they talk into the night, pieces of Melissa's strange journey emerge. How she taught herself photography under Daniel's tutelage. How she created the Marina West identity to sell her work online. how she educated Lily using library books and internet courses, how she gradually built independence from Daniel while maintaining the fiction that they needed his protection. I started planning our real escape 3 years ago, she admits, building resources, establishing Marina West as a legitimate business. I needed to be self-sufficient before I could break away completely. And Daniel never suspected. Melissa's expression is complex. Pity, gratitude, and resentment intertwined. He saw what he wanted to see. His protection narrative was so entrenched that he interpreted my independence as progress rather than preparation to leave. By morning, authorities have assembled enough evidence to charge Robert Kendrick with Melissa's abduction and sexual assault, along with similar crimes against at least 3 other victims. Blake Simmons faces charges as an accomplice. Daniel Westfield's case is more complicated. While he assisted in Melissa's escape from Kendrick, his subsequent actions exist in a legal grey area between savior and captor. For Melissa, the legal proceedings are secondary to the challenge immediately before her, reintegrating into a world she left behind at 15. Sitting with Ellen and Lily on the hotel balcony, watching the harbour, she voices her deepest fear. What if I can't do this? What if I don't know how to be a daughter anymore, or a normal mother to Lily? Ellen squeezes her hand. We'll learn. Together. One day at a time. Lily, listening quietly, adds her own perspective. We were never normal, Mum, but we were still okay. She looks at Ellen. Maybe we can be a different kind of okay now. As reporters gather outside the hotel and the world clamors for the sensational story of the girl who returned after 14 years, the 3 generations of Harmon women make a pact to face whatever comes next as a family, finally reunited. 1 year later, autumn leaves spiral down onto the front lawn of Ellen Harmon's house in Ridgewood. The property looks different now, renovated to accommodate its new residents, with a photography studio converted from the garage and a teenager's artwork brightening previously austere walls. A handmade sign near the mailbox reads, 3 generations. Photography, with a small display of business cards. Inside, Melissa adjusts the lens on her camera, while Lily arranges flowers for the portrait session scheduled in 30 minutes. Ellen moves between them, bringing coffee and organizing props. They work together with the easy rhythm of people who have found their balance after initial awkwardness. The Peterson family will be here soon, Ellen reminds them. First customers of the day. Melissa nods, a confident professional rather than the frightened survivor who returned to Ridgewood 12 months earlier. She wears her hair shorter now, her style distinct from both her teenage self and her Marina West persona. It's a visual representation of her new identity, neither the girl who disappeared nor the woman who hid, but someone forged from both experiences. The doorbell rings. Lily, now 14 and enrolled in Ridgewood High as a freshman, moves to answer it. She has adapted to conventional life with remarkable resilience, though she still sees a therapist twice weekly to process her unconventional upbringing. Her artwork, once confined to sketchbooks, now wins school competitions. I still can't believe how normal this feels sometimes, Melissa remarks quietly to her mother. After everything, Ellen understands the unspoken weight behind those words. The past year has been anything but easy. The media frenzy following Melissa's reappearance. The grueling criminal trials of Kendrick and Blake Simmons, both now serving lengthy sentences. The complex legal situation with Daniel Westfield, eventually resolved with a plea arrangement acknowledging both his rescue of Melissa and his subsequent psychological manipulation. Most challenging were the emotional reckonings, Melissa's guilt over years of silence, Ellen's struggle not to smother her reclaimed daughter with protectiveness, Lily's adjustment to a grandmother she never knew existed, and a world beyond Daniel's carefully constructed boundaries. Normal is relative, Ellen responds, squeezing Melissa's shoulder. We're creating our own version, Their conversation pauses as Lily returns with the Peterson family, parents and two young children here for a holiday portrait. Melissa shifts smoothly into professional mode, welcoming them to the studio space, while Ellen offers refreshments. It's their new routine, this family business built around Melissa's self-taught photography skills and Ellen's organizational talents, with Lily contributing artistic direction. Later, after the Petersons leave, with promises to recommend the studio to friends, Melissa sorts through the digital images while Ellen prepares lunch. Lily sits at the kitchen counter, homework spread before her, occasionally asking Ellen for help with algebra, a grandmother-granddaughter interaction that still feels miraculous to both of them. "Mom," Lily calls toward the studio, "tell Grandma about the play." Melissa emerges, camera still in hand. "I was going to wait until dinner." "Tell me what?" Ellen pauses, sandwich makings momentarily forgotten. Melissa's expression mingles pride and apprehension. "Mrs. Caldwell is retiring this year. The drama department is doing a special production, a compilation of scenes from plays performed during her 30-year career, including your spring play from 1993, Ellen guesses. Melissa nods. "They've asked me to help direct the scene from our production, full circle, I suppose. The invitation represents more than professional recognition. It's Ridgewood acknowledging Melissa not just as the missing girl who returned, but as a woman with something valuable to contribute. After months of being a local curiosity, whispered about in grocery stores and restaurants, Melissa is reclaiming her place in the community on her own terms. Will you do it?" Ellen asks. "I think so." "Yes." Melissa's smile shows hard-won confidence. Lily wants to try out for the student crew. The doorbell interrupts again. Not a client this time, but Detective Mercer, now officially retired, but still involved in their lives. He brings case updates and friendship in equal measure, having been present for every step of their reintegration. "Just wanted to drop this by," he says, handing Ellen a file folder. "The final report on the Idaho case. Thought you'd want to know. Forensics confirmed the link to Kendrick. Your testimony helped close 3 cold cases, Melissa." Melissa accepts this news with quiet dignity. Her decision to testify against Kendrick and Blake, despite the personal cost of publicly reliving her trauma, stemmed from determination to prevent other abductions. The successful prosecutions have brought a measure of peace. "And Daniel?" she asks, the question inevitable whenever Mercer visits, still complying with treatment at the facility. His doctors report progress. Mercer's tone is carefully neutral. He's asked about Lily again. Melissa and Ellen exchange glances. Daniel's role in their story remains the most complicated element. Neither wholly villain nor hero, but something uniquely problematic. He had saved Melissa from Kendrick only to keep her in a different kind of captivity. Yet he had also, in his damaged way, provided protection and resources during Lily's childhood. "I'm not ready for that," Melissa decides, not for the first time. "Maybe someday, but not yet." Lily, listening from the kitchen, adds her perspective. "I still write to him sometimes. He sends sketches of birds from the hospital grounds." Her relationship with Daniel, the only father figure she'd known for 12 years, exists in its own category, distinct from her mother's experience. After Mercer departs, the 3 women settle into their afternoon routines. Ellen grades papers for the community college course she teaches. Melissa edits photos in her studio. Lily works on a school art project. Ordinary moments that feel extraordinary given the journey that brought them here. As evening approaches, they gather in the kitchen to prepare dinner together, a ritual established during their first weeks as a reunited family. Melissa chops vegetables, while Ellen sautés chicken, and Lily sets the table, the radio playing softly in the background. A news bulletin interrupts the music. Police in neighboring Lakeside County are searching for 15-year-old Caitlin Reeves. Last seen leaving drama club rehearsal yesterday afternoon. Ellen moves to change the station, but Melissa places a hand over hers. It's okay. We can listen. They stand together, 3 generations shaped by trauma, but not defined by it, as the report continues. The familiar details. Teenage girl, artistic, interests, no history of running away, echo Melissa's own story. But this time, rather than triggering only fear, the news produces a different response. Should we call Detective Mercer? Lily asks. Tell him about the similarities. Already texting him, Ellen confirms, phone in hand. Melissa reaches for her own phone. I'll contact that support network for families of missing children, the one that helped us last year. They can mobilize volunteers for the search. Their immediate practical reactions represent healing, not forgetting the past, but transforming its lessons into action. Where once there was powerlessness, now there is agency. Where there was isolation, now there is connection. Later that night, after dinner is cleared and plans made to join the search for Caitlin Reeves in the morning, Ellen finds Melissa on the back porch, gazing at stars barely visible through light pollution. I was thinking about that copy of To Kill a Mockingbird, Melissa says without preamble. The one that started everything when it showed up at the library last year? Ellen waits, giving her daughter space to continue. I read it so many times. Over the years, I think I was looking for Scout's courage, her ability to see the truth about people. Melissa's profile is thoughtful in the dim porch light. She sees both the good and evil in her town and still chooses to stay, to make it better. Is that what you're doing? Ellen asks gently. Making things better? Melissa considers this. Trying to, for Lily, for myself, for girls like Caitlin Reeves. She turns to her mother. And for you. I keep thinking about all those years you waited not knowing. Ellen takes her daughter's hand, the gesture still new yet increasingly natural. What matters is that you found your way back. From inside the house, Lily calls them to look at something she's drawn, a triptych portrait of the 3 of them, past and present, intertwined. They move together toward her voice, 3 women united by blood and choice, their story neither fully tragic nor completely victorious, but authentically, imperfectly human. In Melissa's studio, a single Polaroid sits framed on the wall. Not one of Daniel's obsessive documentation photos, but a new image taken on their first day back in Ridgewood. It shows Ellen, Melissa, and Lily standing on the front porch, squinting in sunlight, arms around each other, their faces reflecting not just what they've survived, but what they're building together. Beneath it, written in Melissa's handwriting, is a quote from the book that connected past to present. Real courage is when you know you're licked before you begin, but you begin anyway and see it through no matter what. The girl who vanished after the school play in 1993 will never fully return. But the woman who emerged from those 14 lost years has found something perhaps more valuable than simple restoration. She has discovered how to transform a broken narrative into a new story, entirely her own.